Welcome back to This American Ride podcast, where we talk about issues that affect you, the average American. What's up? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm George. I'm here with Bert.
What's happening?
What's up, man?
Oh, another day, another dollar.
Trying to get through these holidays. We'll wrap up the end of 2023.
Yeah, we are just a couple of days away from Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited about Christmas? Or
I am excited about Christmas. I mean, it's usually, I have the usual holiday stress. I mean, we got different kind of Christmas this year for us, but I'm excited. I'm excited.
Still trying to get in the mood.
Yeah, well,
a little help. The kids are home now, so, that added a little something to the house, but, still just kind of, I don't know, feel a little off this year. I don't know why.
Full house, first time since summer?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, this is the first time my daughter's been home since summer.
Since summer. Mm.
So, the boy child's been home several times because he goes to school a lot closer to home, so he likes to come home and get his laundry done. But I haven't seen daughter because normally she'd come home for the fall break, which is like Thanksgiving. But she didn't bother coming home because we were going on our cruise. So yeah. But it's nice to have them home, even though they're a pain in the butt.
Yep. Good to see him. I'm sure. I'm sure they're happy to see each other. They're much closer than. Some brothers and sisters.
Yeah, they definitely are.
So, man, so what do we got here today?
So, just a little, a little fun project here, talking about the 2023 year in review, kind of gonna roll through some of the big current events that happened throughout the year. I mean, a lot of this stuff you kind of forget about because a year's a long time, and things that happened back in January and February, you kind of forget about, but did a little homework and went back and looked up some stuff and kind of got some of the big hitters for the year. So we were just going to kind of talk about that, have a little conversation about how 2023 was in the news world, and maybe talk about, some of the famous people that died. We always like doing
famous
that.
People. Yeah, you pulled that list up. That was the one thing I didn't pull, but it's so interesting when you go back and you look at this stuff. You're like, that was this year?
Yeah.
Like there were so many things. I was like, wow, that happened this year. And then there was stuff that happened in 2022. Even one thing that happened in 2020, and I was like, that didn't happen this year.
Yeah, it all starts to blend together as you go.
Like,
it sucks.
Years go quick. The years go quick, but it doesn't make the winters seem shorter.
Mm-mm.
What do you got there?
This is a little of that. What is it? That smoked maple.
Oh, the Knob Creek smoked maple. Very good.
I don't know where I put that down at.
It's right behind you there. I can see it from here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This smoked maple's
Knob
good.
Creek.
I got the Bondstone, the local.
That was good.
I've been getting this over the holiday season.
What was that stuff Justin brought us?
That's right over your shoulder. It's the Detroit City Bourbon. So we'll try.
Oh, you tried some?
We'll try some. That's the other bottle he got me. So I have 2 bottles. I'm double stacked with that. So we gotta hit that up. Yeah, I'm about halfway through that one. So it's good bourbon. It's nice. It's mild.
Cool.
It's good stuff.
What else you got going on?
Man, it's just work. I think I hopefully wrapped up my last work trip now for the year.
Nice.
Going to get caught up on some family stuff. Spend some time with Stacy. Kind of slow down here. Obviously, still work to do, but hopefully I wrapped up my last trip. Was a short one down to Baltimore, Charm City. Yeah.
Not a fan.
Yeah.
On so many levels.
I mean, downtown is cool. The architecture's really kind of neat. We wound up in a off the beaten path neighborhood to have, to grab a bite to eat before we left town, and that had a cool little vibe. You could tell, like, you went from downtown, then you went through an area where it was like prison bars and windows and door bars, and then all of a sudden it changed, and it was these really like refurbished row homes and kind of cool little, it was like a charmy little, they call it Charm City, but it was like a neat little neighborhood, and we had some chicken and biscuits. It was a good breakfast.
Went to Baltimore and got chicken and biscuits, huh?
Listen, it was what was on the menu. It was calling me.
You're supposed to have crab when you're in Baltimore?
For breakfast. Yeah.
Interesting. I've only been there like twice. Once to a game a long time ago, back in college.
Orioles game?
No, Steelers game.
Oh, Steelers game.
And then we took the kids there to the aquarium down there in the harbor.
That's got to be cool. I wouldn't mind going
That was a long
to.
time ago too. The kids were young.
Wouldn't mind going to Camden Yards to see the Orioles. That's a cool old baseball stadium.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that would be a neat thing.
You're into baseball.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. Enough about Baltimore.
Yeah.
Not your favorite city.
No, not even close. Close. Let's go 49ers this week.
Jesus Lord. That's right. The 49ers are
That's
playing
a
them.
big one. That's
I know you want the 49ers to win. I want the Ravens to win. That's a tough one.
Christmas night, or is that?
Yeah, it's
Is that Monday night or is that Sunday night? One of those. It's I think it's the last game of I think it might be Monday night. I'm not sure.
One of those.
Big game though. Big game.
The Eagles are
two top teams in each division or each conference.
I think it was Herm Edwards said, they are who we thought they were.
No, that was
Who was that?
Vikings guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I forget his name now. Dang it.
I can't remember his name either. But they are who we thought.
I can picture his face. I can't think of his name.
They are not they're not playing good football right now. So
yeah. So I don't know how you want to kick this off, talking about some of the current events. Well, throughout the year, big news issues, I guess, or just whatever, like just things that happen.
We're definitely not going to be in in chronological order. I feel like we're all over the map here.
I got mine in chronological.
Do you have yours in chronological order?
Yeah.
Well, rattle off one from January of 2023 then.
One of the biggest stories of the year that I think we've all forgotten about because it was literally January 2nd. Bills safety Damar Hamlin was revived on the field of a football game.
Wow.
January 2nd. That guy died on the field, and
they brought him back.
I think, a couple times. He spent several days on a ventilator and all that. But the guy has made like pretty much a full recovery and is back with the team this year, even though it doesn't seem like he's playing much. He's in a smaller role. But yeah, that was a huge story to kick off the year.
Yeah, he's back in the uniform, and it's one of those things. I feel like it has changed football a little bit, because I really can't remember too many times prior to Damar Hamlin them stopping a football game. And I think it's happened twice since Damar Hamlin.
Well, no, it happened in the preseason.
It did happen in the preseason.
Yeah.
Okay.
It happened in the preseason. They did some real precautionary crap in the preseason, but it has not happened this season, and we're winding down the season now, so knock on wood.
So, yeah, but that was I wasn't sure if that was preseason or not.
It was preseason. They did it a couple of times, and I'm like, oh, man, is this where we're going now? Every time some guy has to get carted. I mean, guys get carted off almost every game. Are we going to stop every game? But, I mean, that was different. The dude did, like, just about die.
Yeah.
And it was, pretty serious. But there was a lot of controversy on that. Like, a lot of people thought it was ridiculous that they stopped the game, and a lot of people, thought it was the right thing to do. So that was a lot of Twitter arguments on that.
Yeah. It's a tough thing when you to go back, I guess, and snap that ball after you've seen them doing CPR on your teammate for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The old school guy in me was like, come on, man, let's just, play the damn game. But, looking back, man, that would be tough. It's not like your dude broke his leg or something, not like, any of that, like where you're going to go and you're going to see him later on. They didn't know when they carted him away if they were ever going to see that dude again. So I can see know, how hard that would be to pick up and keep playing. But that was early. That was 2 days into the year.
Wow.
Yeah. And then February 3rd, we had the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio.
Yeah, big deal, man. We had a number of train derailments. We had one that was in Yellowstone afterwards. I think there was another one in Michigan. It was a lot of conspiracy theory around some of those train derailments, but I feel like this one in East Palestine really hit a nerve. One, it devastated the town of East Palestine. I mean, I don't know what the current situation is there, but those people were not able to drink the water. They were not able to live in their homes.
They evacuated a lot of the area.
They had to evacuate. That was on the tail end of railroad employees complaining about the safety, right? Railroads saying they didn't have the money to fix this. There were alerts. it was just the planets aligned and created this really terrible situation where, of all the trains to derail, was one that was carrying a bunch of toxic stuff, and is not a.
You said there was a lot of conspiracy theories around that. And that's one of the funny things that happened in 2023.
What's that?
A lot of conspiracy theories seem to come true.
Be true.
Be true. Yeah.
We need a new name for them, because if they're coming true, they can't be called conspiracy theories anymore.
So the day after that derailment in February was the China spy balloon.
Was it the day after?
Well, according to the site that I looked up, I don't,
I mean, it was all. I guess it was all going on. The China spy balloon, man.
Yeah, because that's when it was like people were really getting pissed because Biden wasn't doing anything, and he, I don't even know if he ever did go see the people go to East Palestine or not. I mean, I know it was a long time if it was.
Well, I know Buttigieg. It took
Booty juice.
Yeah, it took Booty Juice like weeks to get out there.
Yeah,
which is such a simple thing. I mean, here you are, Pete Buttigieg. You're not necessarily in line for presidency, but your name has been your name was in the mix. You know what I mean? And now you're the head. You're the Department of Transportation, and it seems like such an easy thing to do, even though it's a tragic situation, to go out there and connect with people. Maybe you don't have answers. Maybe, hey, we're looking for answers. But to just ignore the people, I feel like, that's a career ender for him. I feel like that situation. Yeah.
What a bummer.
What a tool.
Yeah. But I mean, it was what was it? It was a couple days of that spy balloon floating around with
spy balloon, man.
People freaking out, like, why aren't we doing anything? They had a bunch of stupid theories, according to him, waiting for it to be in a certain spot or whatever. But man,
that was bullshit.
What a mess that was.
They didn't even really know. They were like, "Oh, we're jamming it." We don't know if they were jamming it, and you don't know where they were bouncing that signal from. They could have had people they were bouncing that thing to locally. Yeah. Like they could have had. Yeah, it's just the technology. They said it was primitive, but it doesn't need to be advanced, right? It doesn't need to be advanced.
If there's a tech battle between China and us, I'm gonna put my money on China.
That's slightly racist. You go with China?
I don't think it's racist at all. I mean, where does all the tech come from? And let's be honest, who's better at math?
Taiwan. Well, they are better.
Come on, let's go. Come on.
So that wasn't the only one. It's funny, like around that whole weather balloon incident, they stopped calling them like weather balloons. There was one out over the Pacific. There was another one that they intercepted, right? Mm-hmm. So there was that one. Then they started calling them UFOs, and then people started to get really wigged out. And then there was one over a lake, one of the Great Lakes, and that was a weather balloon from a college.
Yeah,
and they shot that down. That. They were just shooting everything down.
Yeah, quick to shoot down some college experiment. Yeah, so but when they know it's a Chinese spy balloon, we can't do anything. It's insane.
They had to know they shot down a college weather balloon. I mean, I don't know. How they didn't shoot that thing down, and the excuses that they gave were just ridiculous to me. Oh, we got to wait for it to get out of order. You were over thousands of miles of like open terrain across the country. Yeah. You could have.
It was like over Wyoming. There's like 7 people.
Come
in Wyoming,
on, man!
Dude. Just shoot it down.
What are the odds? What are the odds of hitting somebody?
Jeez.
Oh man.
That's crazy. Yeah. Bad look for the intel community there with all that spy balloon crap going on.
No bueno.
So then there was one. So early March. This was something I didn't follow at all, and it was the in early March that Alex Murdaugh dude was sentenced to life. Now, did you follow any of that story? Because I still don't even know what.
No,
he murdered his family or something.
Yeah, he murdered his son and his wife.
Okay, that's your family,
I believe. I don't know if that was. I don't know if it was the whole family though. But yeah. So and he lied about it, and there was all kinds of stuff. But they.
I would lie about it too.
Yeah, would you? Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
You wouldn't just fess up.
Yeah, no. I mean, you gone that far, you might as well just lie about it and see what happens.
And there was other stuff. There was like his son. There was all kinds of stuff that came out. There was this one thing where his son was like on a boat with a girl, and somehow the girl was killed and she disappeared. And there was like the level of stuff that came out around that guy and that family was just no bueno. Yeah, but he was sentenced, he was sentenced to life. Yeah, I didn't follow too much of it. Just the end of that. March, man, we had the bank failures in March, man. Silicon Valley.
Yeah,
Bank.
you had that one. I didn't write that one down because
So
I don't know why I didn't write that down.
You know what happened is, and we could tie these two in together. Inflation was starting to hit its peak, right? Like in March, I feel like inflation was like hitting that 7%, that 7% point. And right now, to give people an idea, right now inflation is at 3%. And when inflation goes from 7 to 3%, just to give a perspective, it doesn't mean that things got cheaper. It just means that they're not getting as expensive as fast, right? So that's kind of how, like, obviously inflation's a complicated economic puzzle, but that's the basis of what those numbers mean. So inflation was going up. How does the Fed control inflation? They jack up interest rates and they start to increase interest rates. And as they increase interest rates, banks can't, it gets harder for banks to loan money, right? And in this country, we work on a banking system called fractional reserve banking, which means only a fraction of the money in the bank has to be, backed up by cash in the bank. And when you have a run on the bank, which is what they started to have, banks did not have the money to back up the funds. Now, if you or I did this, we would call this a Ponzi scheme. But the Fed allows the banks to operate like this. And it affected a lot of companies. It affected my company because I am part of a small venture capital company in a way that we were not with Silicon Bank, but we were with one of the banks afterwards. And because of part of the outfall of this whole banking crisis was after Silicon went down, there were a few other banks. I want to say First Republic was like one of the other ones. I forget the names of them.
It was a First Republic because we have a similar bank name around here that people were like freaking out, and our bank was sending out notices that it's not them, they're not connected. Because they're
And so what happened is after some companies, like we were pretty heavily invested, like our funds, a lot of our money was in First Republic as a smaller company. And by a lot of our money, probably, 50 billion, like $50 million or so we had. So then what happens, and I'm just like throwing that out there as a guesstimate. What happens is we look at Silicon and our CEO and our board members are like, well, we need to insulate ourselves and we need to start splitting our money up. And then other people start splitting their money up. So then you take a First Republic and you get a run on a First Republic, not because First Republic is in a bad situation like Silicon Valley was, but because people don't want to have that happen to them and they start to insulate themselves. Right. And the reality of Silicon Valley is Silicon Valley made a lot of bad loans. They were high on the venture capital, high on the startup. They had, it was just, they just made bad decisions as a bank. And that's why they went under. And when the interest rates hit them, they folded. And then that caused a chain reaction through a couple of different banks. So kind of unprecedented in our lifetime. We haven't seen a lot of bank failures. I mean, we saw some in the crash in 2006, but nothing that scared people like what happened this year, I feel like.
Yeah, it's scary. Crazy.
Oh, February, Tom Brady. Tom Brady retired.
Threw that out there.
Tom Brady.
Was it in February?
Had to be somewhere in there. I'm assuming.
I don't remember when he announced.
I don't know.
Could have been this summer.
It might have been this summer.
I really don't remember.
I don't remember.
It wasn't his first retirement, so
it was not. But this is
most of us didn't really remember the day because we figured it wasn't the last.
It is though, apparently.
Well, maybe.
I mean, hey, Flacco's still playing ball, so who knows? That guy.
I don't want to talk about it.
I know you don't.
That's that guy. Yeah, and then we rounded out March with the first of the Trump indictments for a crime. First time a former president was indicted for a crime.
Yeah,
and it's complete BS.
What was the March indictments? Was that Mar-a-Lago?
No, well, that was where they started with the whole crap about the. It's where they were saying he committed fraud and all that crap.
Right.
Yeah. Which recently just came out. In the bank that they're saying he committed fraud against came out and said he did absolutely nothing wrong, and we're still like it's still going on. Like that right there to me, that statement shot down everything they had, but somehow they're still going on with all this. I don't know. It's never ending. It's never ending.
We need to do a episode on election interference, and I feel like that one's going to get hot. But it is what this is. It is a weaponization of the justice system to destroy your opponent.
Yeah,
is what we're looking at.
Then we had early May, we had the Hollywood writers' strike.
Yeah, so mixed feelings on this one. I usually don't have too much pity on Hollywood because nobody boycotts Hollywood like I do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah, unintentionally your entire life.
But part of the issue with this strike was artificial intelligence, which has made a huge advancements. I feel like by AI in 2023.
Yeah.
It's become part of the conversation, and likenesses and AI being able to recreate actors and use their likenesses. And I feel like I feel like that's
did that have something to do with the strike?
Yeah, that did have something to do with the strike. They were that was in there. I don't know where they all settled on all that, but they were concerned about like payment and companies and them having rights to their voices and likenesses.
Well, I gotta say, I didn't miss late night TV, and if them going back on strike would take some of those ass hats off of late night TV, then not that I watch it, but just their faces on commercials is enough to drive you nuts.
Yeah,
so
I feel like it was more TV than it was movies, but maybe,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, although, I don't know how it affected the big screen, but it definitely, had an effect on TV. What do they call TV? The silver screen?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. It definitely did. I know all those late night clowns, all those liberals acting like comedians at late night, were all off the air for quite a while.
Oh, Saturday Night Live and all the late shows. Yeah, the late shit. It did shut down the late shows.
And I think it delayed a lot of the TV shows, And listen, I have some TV shows I like that, it might have delayed them coming out, but it was all right. I didn't really miss them.
Yeah, and I feel like with the writers, I feel like I know actors or whatever, they're overpaid, but it is what it is. Like, people watch them and there's a demand and they make their money. But I feel like, and I don't know this for sure, that the writers are probably underpaid and underappreciated.
I'm sure.
In the whole thing, like
I'm sure they are. Yeah. No doubt.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. I mean, the behind the scenes people always get, the raw deal.
Yeah,
but that's kind of across the board everywhere, and in every field across everything, everybody's jobs. It's always that way. But yeah, that was. I mean, it was a big news. It was in the cycle, and it was talked about a lot.
It lasted,
for a while there.
And I feel like we had.
We know how long it lasted.
We had the auto worker strike too, and the auto worker strike was very, very long. I feel like these strikes have gotten a lot longer than other strikes that I remember in the past. Right now in the state of New Jersey, one of our largest hospitals has been on strike, and it's been on strike for a while, to the point where like people have just given up on it and went and gone and found new jobs because they just can't like pay bills and they can't support themselves.
Wow.
So yeah, Robert Wood Johnson, New Brunswick, has been lights out on strike for a while.
I feel like Jersey doesn't have a shortage of hospitals.
No. We do have a lot of population, but those hospitals don't close. They bring in travelers. They, especially a hospital like Robert Wood, which is what I have such mixed feelings about unions in medicine, because they've really, I've never had a union do a damn thing for me in medicine, and I've been a part of them, and they've never done anything except get me a uniform allowance and have to work with people who know they can't be fired.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, and there's people that are probably going to trash me for that, but I think every profession is different, and I think there's a place for unions, but I feel...
People can trash you, but I mean, I don't see how anybody can argue the fact that the the overall goals of unions are different from when unions started.
Are they? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just trying to make money now.
Yeah.
And like you said, keep people from getting fired that should be fired. You know, when unions started back in the day, they were trying to keep people alive. You know, people that were dying in the workplace and then just being, you know, just covered up and hidden. And yeah, it was like crazy work environment, factories and all this stuff. You know, it was like pretty crappy conditions. And I don't think anybody really has pretty crappy, you know, there's not that many crappy conditions. You know what I mean? You might have a dangerous job, but the unions have done a lot. And now I feel like they're just not doing what they're billed as. Yeah. You know, because they don't take care of the people that need to be taken care of. They take care of the people that should be shit canned, you know? And like you said, it's a problem when somebody knows they can't be fired and they're a crappy employee to begin with.
It is a problem.
That's a real problem. If you're a sucky employee and you know they're not going to fire you, I mean, you've got free reign to make every one of your coworkers' lives miserable.
Oh, it is, and I've seen it be a real problem. I've seen it be a real problem. You are a problem.
You are a problem. Yeah, so in May, that Title 42 expired.
Title 42.
And all hell broke loose at the border and has been ongoing ever since.
12,000 people a day at this damn border. Texas is throwing down the gauntlet this week. I'm so happy to see it.
That was coming up on the end of my thing because December 18th, 12,000 illegals crossed into the U.S. along the Texas border, and that was the most in a single day in the history of this country.
Yeah. Yeah, we are being invaded.
I mean, it's... and we're all just... we're doing nothing but talk about it.
Yeah.
At this point, like we're just slowly.
Well, I don't know what Abbott's doing. I feel like Abbott's, you know,
he's doing. I know he's trying to do stuff, but you know, when you have the federal government fighting you every step of the way, it's kind of hard.
It's tough. It's tough.
Nuts. It's a mess. The whole border's a mess. We talked about that last week. It's only getting worse. And
if you haven't caught that episode,
I'll tell you
go
what,
back.
man. If you don't care, I guess if you don't care about your children's future here in the U.S., then go ahead, I guess, and vote Democrat again here in 24. I mean, and if you do, you might have to swallow your pride and vote for somebody that's gonna, you know, regardless of some of the things you don't like, they're at least gonna put the safety of the country first.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
If you're picking up when I'm laying down, you know, you might have to just deal with Orange Man. If you don't, you know, want your country overrun by
if we've got him
crazy
left,
foreigners.
If we've got him left on enough ballots to get the electoral votes to win,
he will be. That's gonna get. You just see. I mean, there's a lot to come on that, but
yeah,
you know, I think the Supreme Court's gonna get involved here
in short order.
And yeah, pretty quick. So
yeah. So the Titan submersible. The Titan submersible, white sub go imploded.
Yeah, that was in June.
Was that in June?
That was in June. Went missing for a while. Obviously, it was assumed, and then they kind of confirmed that thing just, what a freaking way to go, huh?
Yeah, it's here 1 minute, gone the next, man. I can't imagine there was much panic involved.
I think there was a lot of panic.
You think there was panic?
I mean, obviously not in the moment that they died, but they were down there lost and like they were, whatever was going on, it didn't implode immediately.
We don't know that, do we?
I'm pretty sure that it was. Yeah, I don't think it imploded immediately. Like there had to be some point in time where they were all freaking out because they didn't know what to do. And then I'm sure I think the end was probably quick, obviously. But
the batteries in that little PlayStation controller they used to steer that baby went dead, man. I have a theory on that. I'm a big Titanic conspiracy theorist. I feel like there's a lot of people that the Titanic is like the killing of Kennedy. There's some things that this country and this country in particular want to keep a secret.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some stuff on that. It's pretty compelling.
And my theory is, I'd love to talk about this, but my theory is that the Titanic did not sink by accident. I'm not saying it didn't hit an iceberg, but I am saying that I don't think the sinking of it was accidental. I think there were too many important people that were playing too much of a role in how this country was about to be shaped for the next, however many, decades. And all of those people went to the bottom.
Yeah.
And, they didn't indict their opposition. They killed off the opposition, and they were all together.
One and the same.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Funny that you bring that up because we just watched that Monday.
The Titanic?
Yeah.
Oh my God, painful.
Carolyn had off Monday, and she was just kind of hanging out, doing some stuff around the house. But I was working, so by the time I came up at 5, she was chilling on the couch watching Titanic. Was kind of like in the middle of it, so I sat down with her and we finished it out.
So painful.
It is, man. Like, move over, bitch. You could fit on the piece of wood. Move over.
So
aggravated.
Mythbusters did it.
I know. I heard about that. She was talking about that.
Mythbusters did the whole thing, and had she moved over, they'd have both died.
Yeah, I don't. If you put any stock into what Mythbusters say, I guess
I don't know.
But I do know there was a lot of shit on that boat that floated.
You fucking think?
Like, everybody's out there freaking out, panicking and stuff. Like, I'd have been downstairs finding something that I could at least chill on for a freaking few minutes, an hour, whatever.
I'd have been trying to find some wood that floated.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I would have been. I don't. I'm telling you.
I mean, there's a lot of beds on that boat. You know what I mean?
Telling you,
there's a lot of headboards.
I'd have been trying to put some stuff together, man. You're not kidding.
And if the movie is correct in like a lot of the way that boat was designed, like there was a lot of fancy crap like in that boat. The rich people had some, they didn't have little twin size beds. They had some nice beds, with some big wood headboards. So there was a lot of furniture on that boat. So
oak floats.
Man.
So I banged you out of order there. Where we at?
July is when the you kind of, I don't know if we talked about this, but the interest rates hit an 22-year high.
22-year high. We did talk about interest rates a little bit.
Kind of skyrocketed there. And then in August, we had the big wildfires in Hawaii.
Wow.
Wiping out almost the whole town and killing 99 people.
Yeah, killed a bunch of people. Really scary.
And, they got no help from Biden.
They got $700 from Biden.
We talked about that in
one of our first podcasts. What also happened in August is we launched This American Ride. And when
in August?
When we did launch This American Ride, we never thought that we'd have a sponsor like Legendary USA. So let's hear from them for a minute. What's up, everybody? I just wanted to take a minute to tell you about the sponsor of today's podcast, Legendary USA. Their selection of leather and denim jackets, vests, gloves, chaps, and riding shirts are 100% made in the USA with a lifetime warranty. Legendary USA isn't just about style, it's about quality. With American-made products and a commitment to excellence, you can trust that you're getting gear that's built to last. Legendary USA isn't just for bikers. They have a full selection of shirts, hoodies, EDC, tactical and survival gear, all made here in the USA. And here is the best part. Legendary USA is offering our listeners an exclusive deal. When you shop at legendaryusa.com and use the promo code LegendaryPod, you'll get 15% off on your first purchase. That's legendary with a D and pod for podcast. So why settle for ordinary when you can be legendary? Click that link in the description to head on over to legendaryusa.com to explore their fantastic range of products and use the promo code LegendaryPod to snag your 15% off discount today. Now back to the show, and thank you for Legendary USA for supporting this podcast.
Nice.
Yeah, we're back. Why be ordinary when you can be legendary? I'm rocking my legendary shirt today.
Very nice.
Yep.
We got stuff coming, man. We got some. So I talked to Chris. Chris is the owner of Legendary USA. I talked to him last week, and they had an issue where like a pallet was stolen.
Oh, damn.
And he believes our stuff was on that
pallet.
But he had already put in like a replacement order and stuff. So we'll have that soon, and we'll be able to show that off over on the Baggers and Brews channel. For those of you not following that, go over to YouTube and follow Baggers and Brews. That is our original venture that we're still going strong on, trying to grow that, and doing a big event this year too.
Huge event, 2024. We are going to raise money, dedicate the entire calendar year 2024, and really we've started already, to raise money for an organization called Tunnel to Towers, which supports veterans and first responders. Does a lot of great things for them, and we've got some we're gonna have some of those sponsors that are helping us out with this whole venture. We're gonna have them on the show. Definitely, we just talked about that tonight, having one of those sponsors on the show. So it's a lot of cool stuff. Very exciting. I'm definitely humbled by the outreach. And,
definitely. And listen, not gonna be ashamed to beg here. If you are someone listening and you have a small business or some type of business and you want to contribute to this venture and raising money for our veterans and first responders, and you want to be a sponsor of this event, reach out to us. You can send us an email at either baggersandbrews@gmail.com or thisamericanride1776@gmail. Either one of those. Did I say Baggers and Brews right? Baggersandbrews@gmail. Yeah,
you did.
Either one of those, and let us know if you'd like to do a sponsorship. We have a form with some options on there, but we can do anything. I mean, whatever anybody's willing to kind of give to the cause, we are gonna take all the help we can get. We have a lofty goal. If you haven't seen that goal, we did a video that came out on Tuesday on the Baggers and Brews channel. And we set our goal at a whopping to me, it seems like a whopping number to me.
It's a lot of money, man.
$50,000 that we want to raise in the year. So this isn't off of one event. Obviously, we have an online campaign as well, and George will start putting that link down in the description of the video
and in the podcast.
Anybody interested, doesn't matter how small or how little it is, every little bit helps. And you can go to the link, and it's a direct link to a spot to donate. So feel free to do that if you feel strongly about the cause, and we would definitely appreciate it.
Awesome.
All right, back to today's discussion.
Back to the show.
Yeah, so we talked about the wildfires. Then in September, were the Hunter Biden was charged with some federal firearms charges.
Yeah.
Which amounted to nothing.
Snorting coke and buying firearms, you're not allowed to do that unless you're Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's pretty bulletproof. There's things going on currently with him, but I mean, those initial charges kind of blew over. They ended up not really sticking, and they kind of didn't they drop
this guy? Well,
I feel like they dropped.
No,
those.
they're not dropped. They just filed to have them dropped, and I don't think that's been accepted. But
are you sure that I think the ones in September? I think something since then has come about in California or something.
So he was refiled. There were other charges he was filed against in California, but I think the California stuff is complete bullshit, because I think the only reason they filed against him in California was because they're trying to subpoena him to the Hill, which he just ignored.
Yeah, which was...
And I think he's ignoring that subpoena because there's going to be like 2 ongoing investigations, and he's just playing a shell game. Yeah. I have to look into it more, because honestly...
Yeah, he's something else, man, that dude.
Just when we thought, the Clintons were the shittiest people on the face of the planet, along come the Bidens and make them look like amateurs. I'll tell you what,
man, they were able to find every single person that was... in the Washington, D.C., 20-mile radius on January 6th, they found every single one of them, but they just couldn't figure out whose cocaine that was in the White House.
It's fucking
so
amazing,
weird, man. I mean, one of the most secure places on the planet, but apparently no cameras in there.
One of the most secure places on the planet, and when you look at the discrepancies of where it was found, when it was found, how it was found, there's so many inconsistencies, and it's just this little bullshit story that now nobody's talking about. But somebody left a little blow in the White House,
so frustrating.
And I don't think it was a staffer. I don't think it was somebody who's got something to lose.
Maybe it was that dude that was getting plugged on the Senate floor there.
Holy shit, that's another one.
Maybe it was his stuff. Maybe he had to get amped up for the video shoot.
2 more liberals we won't hear anything about.
Oh, jeez. Well, they came out and fired him, so at least at least they did that. But whatever, man. Speaking of freaking liberal, horrible humans, September 29th, ding dong, the witch is dead. And I'm going to sound horrible here, but Dianne Feinstein died.
Dianne Feinstein.
Classic picture of what's wrong with Washington, D.C. This woman was 90 years old. She had to give
91.
She had to give power of attorney to her daughter yet she wasn't giving up her seat and was still, involved in having to make votes and,
that was the thing. She
man.
couldn't make personal decisions at home about anything about her life.
But
at
she
home.
could make decisions for us, the country.
She could vote. She could vote for her constituents. It's the most craziest thing ever.
Absurd, absolutely absurd, and every one of you should be disgraced. Just absolutely infuriated by it. It's disgraceful, man, and it's a long line of just absolutely bizarre, unprofessional things that have gone on in Washington since 2020.
There was a media clip of her voting on a bill, and she was surrounded by staffers, and then they asked her what her vote was. She started to go on to this like rambling nonsense statement, and then the staffer stopped her and was like, "Just vote yes."
Unbelievable, right?
That clip was all over. It wasn't crazy, like a made up thing, It was, you're clearly watching it.
It's crazy, man. I mean, if you haven't figured out yet that all the things they told you Trump was going to do, they're actually just doing themselves.
Oh, except they're doing him much worse than they even said he was going to do.
Crazy. So then we rolled into October 7th. What happened October 7th? Oh man,
October 7th. Hamas invaded Israel and really kind of kicked the ball into what I personally think is the start of World War III.
Yeah.
I really kind of think that is kind of slowly what we're creeping towards. I mean, everybody looks back in history, World War II, World War I, and they think, all these things just started up and we stormed the beaches on D-Day and that's how the war started. And in reality, there was years of political tension and years of stuff that led up to those wars. When Hitler invaded Poland, it was like, it won't go any further than that. And next thing he's kicking the shit out of the French. We're kind of at that point, like where Hitler invaded Poland. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. We had Russia and Ukraine, right? That's whatever the hell that is right now. We were 2.5 years into that conflict. It's a conflict at this point. I'm sure they're calling it a war, but it's a conflict. And then Hamas leads a very organized strategic attack that was a coalition-led event, backed by Iran, Lebanese, Palestinians. They were all together. They planned this. They gave an okay. They gave a green light. They had an attack date. They attacked at a time with a music festival going on where they could do the most damage against people that were not prepared for them. And from a population standpoint, we talked about this. We did a podcast on this. Mm-hmm. They killed more people on October 7th, 2023 per capita than we lost on 9/11.
Yeah, we did a whole podcast, so if you haven't seen that, sorry, go back in the archives and check that out.
Yeah.
Where we dedicated the whole conversation to that. But yeah, that was some insane stuff, and it led to what is currently going on here in the U.S., which is quite frankly something I mean, of all the things that happened here over the last 10, 15 years, that just blows my mind. This does the most mind-blowing, and that is the division it's caused, where we have people openly supporting, Hamas and anti-Semitism all over the country. And apparently now all of a sudden the left is okay with that and it's justified. So pretty bizarre, man. Some pretty crazy stuff going on. You see the videos almost daily of stuff going on with, these free Palestine people that are basically just all these terrorists that we've, welcomed into our country over the last, probably 30 years. This is gradually.
This is going to be the biggest religious war that the world has ever seen. Yeah. I feel like we have no idea what we're in for, and
you know how crazy it is.
Only a matter of time,
and how huge it is, right? When you have some pretty hardcore liberal Hollywood folks who happen to be Jewish.
Yeah,
who are now, going against their party because now this is like, their people being, threatened and killed in the streets, kind of a scenario. So I mean, when you have these liberals that have been hardcore liberals, Trump haters, now saying, listen, I'll tell you what's his face? Oh, what's his name? Oh, the dude. He's a New Yorker. Shoot, I forget his name. Hardcore liberal. Dang it, I can't think of his name, but he's big. He's on Twitter all the time, and like when Trump was in office, he was on Twitter every day, like just going on these like curse-filled tirades on Twitter, hating Trump. And now he's like,
I don't know.
Now I'll think of his name.
I'm sure I know him, but
I'll think of his name. He was in a few movies, not like a huge celebrity, but I mean, he was on some episodes of Friends where he like dated Phoebe. Michael Rappaport.
Oh yeah.
Michael Rappaport, hardcore liberal, and he just like he recently put out on Twitter. He was like, I hate the MFer, and I'll continue to talk trash about him. But at this stage of the game, if my choice is between Biden and Trump, I have to vote for Trump. Yeah. And I was like, holy crap, because I've just watched this guy for the last like 7-8 years. Like even in the last 3 years with Trump like out of office, he still dedicates all his time to hating on Trump on social media. And he was like, I won't be happy about it. And I'll still call him a fat pig effer, like he was calling it. But he's like, I can't vote for Biden with what's going on with this Israel stuff.
Even now, they're pushing for Israel to pump the brakes. I mean, at their full court press to pump the brakes here.
Crazy.
That
was wild, man. And that I mean that's still in the news, and it's still a big deal right now. Obviously, only a couple months removed from that day, but that was probably, I mean, that might have been the biggest news.
You knew the world.
The year.
You knew when that happened, the world was changing.
Yeah,
and I feel
not for the better.
We always joke around about fuck around and find out. And Hamas is on the wrong end right now of fuck around and find out. But there's a whole chain of events that have triggered. Since October 7th, U.S. troops in the Middle East, the attacks have gone up tenfold. We've had, at this point, a couple of days ago, I checked, it was like 120 attacks on U.S. troops. Not even mentioning what's going on in the Gulf. What's our destroyer in the Gulf? It begins with a C. This destroyer is like single-handedly like shooting down everything that comes out of Yemen. Because these Houthis are Iranian backed. They're Iranian fund. They're basically Iranian hired, militia at this point, and they are trying to disrupt the world shipping lanes, which is will have a huge impact. Like, people don't understand, when World War II came over and the U.S. had the most powerful navy, world trade opened up because the U.S. patrolled the seas, and sea trade and everything was safer. And when you can't get through someplace like the Red Sea, it's prices of goods are going to go up. I mean, your stuff from Walmart is not going to be there. Man. It's a vital shipping lane for the rest of the world.
Yeah. So, moving on later in October. So it was kind of a slow year for mass shootings. You could tell that in 2023 that the liberals were super comfortable with their position, because there weren't a lot of mass shootings. Like, they didn't need the storyline to distract. Like, they were just really happy with where they were. But
how many taglines can you tell? I mean, how many taglines can you tell?
So October 25th, you had the gunman in Lewiston, Maine, who that was the deadliest shooting of 23, and one of the only ones. I mean, there might be some other ones. You guys can refresh my memory.
There were.
I'm sure there was a few.
This year.
But again, you got to really tread lightly on what's considered a mass shooting as well. But so that happened in Maine, and the guy killed like 19 people at like a bowling alley, and
he was ex-military, right?
And he was nuts.
Yeah,
and I don't know all the details about that guy. I didn't like read deeply into that one, but you kind of get numb to these, like,
it's tragic,
the way they push these mass shootings. The way the media pushes them, and you really get the real important part of it always gets lost because it instantly goes to like an agenda push. And before people are like officially pronounced dead, we're already talking about gun control. So it kind of, people like me kind of get numb to it. But 19 people, really tragic. The guy ended up killing himself, right? So that was a big deal in October. And then something that was kind of significant in November, Ohio became another state to enshrine in abortion rights, and they made it like legal for doctors to give abortions up to what they call fetal viability, which if you're someone who is really into the abortion fight, the argument between pro and anti-abortion. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
The whole abortion thing is a pretty, actually, it drives me nuts because the abortion issue, which, obviously I'm not for abortions, but it seems to be that single issue that always saves liberals when it comes to the votes.
I feel like it is, and I also feel like it's an issue that has suffered the most out of the lack of moderacy that the country has lost.
Yeah, for sure.
Abortion has suffered the most, and there are a lot of people on both sides of the left and right who have a lot of mixed feelings about it. But because it was pushed, the pendulum was pushed so far, it was like, that's not right. And I can't support that. You know what I mean? Like I can't. I just can't.
What is fetal viability, and who decides that?
I don't know how they decide. I can't even speak to how that's decided right now, because the arguments that were taking place on the floor of the House this year were crazy. They were really wild. So I'm not going to get into that, but it's New York is full term abortion, and that's
you're to the point where the extreme left is pushing for you to be able to kill a kid after it's born.
Yeah, like
literally after it's born.
It's not far from it.
No, they're pushing for it, just like they're pushing for pedophile rights. So it's crazy. Yeah. And then we kind of moved into, like, I kind of already read this one, but this is the most recent. We moved into December, where on the 18th, 2 days ago, 12,000 illegals crossed the border, and that was the biggest number in any single day in the history of the U.S. And it's odds are it's going to go up. We still have a full year at best of this clown. So why would it? It's not going to. I personally hope that it keeps getting worse.
Do you though?
Yeah, I do, because the only way, we need absolute, just all on every issue, we need worst case scenario, because it's the only way that you're going to have enough people
with the pendulum
vote
swings
for the orange man to be able to prevent them from the 3 a.m., Biden vote spike. It's what have we done to address that? Nothing at all, right? So why do anybody think it's going to change?
No.
We're all going to fall asleep on that night in November thinking, Trump won, and we're going to wake up and they're going to be like, oh, Biden won. All the mail-in ballots in 3 a.m. were counted. Mm-hmm. It's just effing joke. It's an effing joke.
Yeah.
And until, Republicans just have no balls and they don't fix anything. They don't do anything. Like I've always said, a couple of, real positive things. It's hard to find positive things about liberals, but the liberal politicians, they have each other's back, and they think end game, bigger than anybody.
Play the long game.
And they get things done that they're promising their crazy extreme left, people that voted for them. A complete opposite of anything Republicans do. They promise crap. They eat each other alive. They have no balls when it comes to fighting against liberals, but man, they're tough when it comes against fighting each other, and they don't accomplish anything. Even when they have a majority, they don't accomplish anything.
And then when they do fight against liberals, we ostracise the ones that do.
Right.
It's brutal.
Yeah. The ones that come in and actually try to do what they promise their constituents, the rhinos get rid of real quick.
You know what the border needs?
I don't know, some sort of space age
border needs John Taffer.
John Taffer.
Shut it down.
Do we need a butt funnel? We need a butt funnel, and everyone that walks through the butt funnel gets sniped in the face. Yeah, that's what we need. If you don't know,
Shut it down.
If you don't know about the butt funnel, you got to go watch some Bar Rescue.
If you know, you know.
So that's kind of. We might have missed some things.
We did miss this year, and we were just talking about this with somebody, and I think we're going to wind up doing a real, a podcast on this, because this is a real issue in our country. And that's kind of what this podcast is about, is, the issues in our country. Is we had the highest rate of suicides this year so far that the country has seen since World War II. 49,449 suicides as of last week.
That's a lot of people, man.
That's a lot of people, man.
That's a lot of people.
That number to me is, that number's nuts.
I don't know.
And
I don't know what they just do nothing to address.
You know, I mean, listen, it's okay not to be okay. It's
crazy, you know, and there's politicians that would rather worry about like how they kill themselves, and you know, if we didn't have guns, come on, man. These people,
Australia proved that that's
these
not the
people that do this, you know, that end up committing suicide. I mean, you got to think of how just completely lost and desperate they are to commit something. They're going to do it regardless. There's a million ways to kill yourself, and when you're that lost and getting no help.
Yeah.
What do you expect, man? It's definitely a mental health crisis, more so than any other crises, you know, other than maybe the border, but that, you know, liberals love to push, and tell you about how conservatives don't care. But I mean, the politicians are a lot like the medical field, where you know they just want to keep treating the symptoms instead of the causes.
Yeah. Well, when we get that into mental health, I want a quorum.
Yeah.
You know what a quorum is. I want a quorum. A group of people that have some experience in it that is beyond the experience of what I even have to offer, because I know that I have people that I worry about, and I have no idea how to help those people.
Yeah.
You know. So and I think probably when you think about it, more of us have one of those people in our lives than we you know, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
And probably more of us don't know how to help those people, because if you ask somebody if they're okay, the answer is always going to be yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's asking somebody if they're okay.
We've had some experiences this year with people who the answer wasn't yes. You kind of knew.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of something we've kind of just a situation we found ourselves in with Baggers and Brews and our members and stuff, and we have a lot of awesome members, but you know, people are struggling, man, and it's more common than you think.
Yeah,
it really is, especially amongst, like, honestly, to me it feels like especially amongst middle-aged men.
It's tough,
you know
man.
What I mean? Yeah. Obviously, I mean, if you do all the numbers, you know, it's overwhelmingly men that commit suicide.
It is, and I don't know if that's because of I know so many men, I know so many people in that age group, so that like my statistic, it's like I'm statistically skewed.
Yeah, but it's not your statistic. That's like an overall statistic. There's no argument to it. It's men are by far and away
more
the higher percentage of suicides, and I'm sure there's a lot of theories.
So
to that,
elderly, man. There's a lot of undocumented elderly suicide.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot more than people think. I did my nursing.
That's very different, though.
Did a nursing school thesis on it.
It's very different.
It is.
I mean, when you're elderly, well, I mean, it is like you get elderly and you have all these different issues and stuff, and you get to the point where you'd rather just, you know, not deal with them anymore and just be gone. You know, there's a lot of different health issues involved.
I feel like there's
a lot of depression from just knowing the end is near.
I think it's just morally easier for us to rationalize that. I don't think it's any different. I just think it's morally easier for us to rationalize.
I don't know. I feel like it's different if you think about, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just where you're at in life. It's maybe something, maybe like you said, we'd do a video on that, and or not a video, but a podcast on that with some other people, and kind of maybe, you know, do a little more research on that before we discuss it, because it's not something I've given a ton of thought to. So but I mean, it is a problem. It's obviously a huge problem. So I want to get into. I want to kind of go down this list of, you know, because every year when we get to this point, we get to the beginning of the next year, we always look back at like the famous, you know, or celebrity people that passed in that year. So I went ahead and, you know, I Googled it, and I found a list that was quite extensive.
It looks quite extensive.
Listen, this is nothing.
People can't see it,
but it looks This is extensive. A fraction of what was on the list.
Really?
Yes. So, like, here's what I told you, and I wrote these down because I wanted to remember these. A lot of the people on this list were musicians that I've never heard of.
Okay.
You might have known some of them, but there were some. I mean, I don't know names of musicians from bands, but typically I know a band name. Like if it was a big band, like, you know, so there was a lot of what was probably like smaller 70s bands and stuff like that. People, you know, from that. There was a lot of English actors and singers that I had no idea who they were.
Yeah,
I mean, they were
probably
English.
not going to know them either.
There was a lot of soap opera actors.
Well, because they're getting to that
Daytime.
age,
Yeah.
man. They're getting to that age.
And then there was, oddly, a lot of old drag queens.
I'm not going to know any of them.
Didn't know any of them, but it was very bizarre. There was more than 2, so to me that was a lot in the list.
Yeah.
So, but I wrote down the ones that I recognized. So if I recognize them, you probably do. So I was going to kind of just go down the list and kind of, you can just give me your memory or thought if you even remember, if you even know who they are. And maybe some of them aren't, you don't have a big memory on, but you know, I think if you saw one of these, like a little, makes it easier to see their face. You know what I mean? Which I saw their faces. But so I'll go down this list. It's a random list. I don't think it was done by any kind of date or anything like that.
We don't have the YouTube production level that we're going to be flashing people's faces.
No. And I mean, you guys will know. And I'll just kind of tell you, you know, what they were known for or whatever. And then you can kind of give me, if you have a memory of them. If not, we'll move on to the next one.
Let's go.
All right. First one is Ryan O'Neal.
Ryan O'Neal. Who's Ryan O'Neal?
Ryan O'Neal was an actor. I think if you saw his face, you would know him. But he was most kind of known for having he was dated or was involved with Farrah Fawcett for a long time.
I know Ryan O'Neal. He just died not long ago.
Yeah.
Yes. My mom was very upset.
Okay. Another interesting. Another one, very, very. Everybody knows this one, and this happened pretty recently. That's Matthew Perry, actor from Friends.
Unfortunately, he lost his struggle.
Pretty tragic. Then here's one, Richard Moll. Moll. I'm not Moll. So here's who this is. Bull from Night Court.
Yes.
I never knew his real name either.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was a show I watched.
I remember seeing him pass away. Yeah. Not long ago.
Watched him pass away?
No, but I mean, I remember seeing it coming across the ticker. It was not long ago.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. So yeah, that was the show that I watched pretty religiously for a while. At a weird, I don't remember what age that was, but I watched that a lot.
That was my warm up riff on my bass at a gig.
The Night Court.
Okay.
Then there was Suzanne Summers.
Suzanne Summers, Thigh Master.
Three's Company.
You
know her from Thigh Master?
You
didn't watch Three's Company?
I did watch Three's Company.
Man, that show was fantastic. Love that show. Mm-hmm. So here's one, Burt Young. You know Burt Young, you just don't know his real name.
Who is Burt Young?
Burt Young is Paulie from Rocky movies.
Oh, shit. Trainer. Yeah, the trainer. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He passed this year. And now here was one that hit me hard because I was a huge fan as a child when I first got into the game. Dick Butkus passed this year.
Dick Butkus. That was early, I feel like.
Hall of Fame linebacker for the Bears. Amazing football player. Then there was Michael Gambon. So I didn't know who he was, but I know who he is. I gotta know his name. He played Dumbledore on Harry Potter.
Yeah, I didn't know that guy.
My kids watch that, so
yeah.
Then here's another one that, like, unless you kind of watched a few different shows, David McCallum.
David McCallum is Ducky from NCIS, man.
That's right.
And David McCallum was also Kuryakin in the 70s. Who is the character that Kuryakin, the motorcycle company, is named after?
But what was what was that character in?
That character was in a James Bond film, right? Was that James Bond?
Was it? I don't know. Wasn't he? I thought he was also in
I don't know.
The man that
yes,
uncle or something like that.
Yeah, it was another one that he was in. Yeah, listen, Dave McCallum is an awesome dude, great actor, great character actor.
I mean, I loved him in NCIS. I'm a big fan of the original.
He was an iconic piece of NCIS.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Then there was Steve Harwell.
Who's Steve Hartwell? I feel like
Smash Mouth frontman.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. That kind of shocked me, that one. But he had an illness though. It wasn't.
Not sure.
I think it was cancer that got him. Yeah,
maybe. And then everyone knows this next one, Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah, man. Wasting away in
Margaritaville singer.
Just crazy.
So I think he had a good life.
Listen, he did, man. He's influential, man. He's just
still has a huge following.
It's just insane.
We'll probably have for a long time.
The brand.
They call them parrot heads,
man.
Yeah.
The brand that Jimmy Buffett built is a once in a lifetime type of thing to see. It's insane.
Another huge one for daytime TV here. Bob Barker. The old Price is Right.
Remember to get your pet spayed and neutered.
Mm-hmm. A lot of days of faking sick to stay home. Not to watch that, but end up watching that.
My
as a
grandparents
kid,
loved it. Yeah.
yeah. Jerry Funk. Jerry Funk was a big WWE legend. Wrestler.
I didn't know.
I'm not like,
not my
I'm not
thing.
super knowledgeable. If you saw him, you would know who he was.
Yeah,
if you saw him, but yeah, he was a big time wrestler. Here's another one from our childhood, Paul Rubens.
Paul Rubin.
Pee Wee Herman.
Yes.
Pee Wee Herman, the old movie theater spanker.
Yep.
Yeah, man. That was a good
Wow.
Pee Wee Herman's still a great movie, though. I don't care what anybody says.
It's been years since I've seen.
Oh my
that.
God, it
Him
is a good movie.
and that
Then
laugh.
you mentioned this Sinead O'Connor.
Sinead O'Connor, man.
Nothing compares to you, George.
It's not a fan of her politics, but she was definitely
A one-hit wonder.
well, she had a lot of stuff that was out. She did. There
It.
was a lot of Sinead O'Connor.
Come on,
songs
she's
out
known
there.
for like one or two songs, tops.
Yeah.
And a bald head.
In this country, yeah. But,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's what's going on.
You know. No, there were a couple songs.
I mean, there's
I feel
plenty
like.
of hugely famous people in Europe that I don't know.
Yeah.
But, like David Hasselhoff.
That's funny.
Then you had Tony Bennett.
Yeah, Tony Bennett, man. Tony Bennett is
He's a guy you would hear. I just heard him on the way over. He had a lot of Christmas special stuff, a lot of Christmas song stuff.
Had a lot of Christmas. And you know what some of my favorite Tony Bennett stuff is, and this is probably going to shock you, is the stuff that he did with Amy Winehouse.
I don't know.
Unbelievable. Amy Winehouse was, she, died tragically to substance abuse, but her time spent in the studio with Tony Bennett was some of her most unbelievable work. It was just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. There was the old Pat Robertson.
The
700 Club.
The Preacher, 700 Club. Yeah,
700 Club. Yep, he passed away this year.
Mm-hmm.
Another big WWF star, the Iron Sheik.
Oh,
Come on, everybody knows the Iron Sheik. I mean, he had action figures.
That was from our time, though. I mean,
They had the cartoon.
Yeah,
the
that
wrestling
was,
cartoon.
That's when wrestling was real.
That was when wrestling was like as big as it could get, man. That was the heyday for sure.
It, man. Those guys were doing interviews with Mean Gene, all coked up. That was the best. That was the best it was ever going to be.
Another legend, Tina Turner.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Tina is just Proud Mary.
I mean, she's just iconic, I guess.
I mean, she had those, even she went from the 70s, late to the 60s, 70s. I mean, Ike Turner was debatably like, but Ike Turner, I mean, obviously they had a tumultuous relationship, but Ike Turner, people don't know Ike Turner was like one of the guys who invented rock and roll. I mean, he was one of the guys who invented the rock and roll sound was Ike. And then him and Tina went on to have an incredible career that bled into our childhood because she was even, What's Love Got to Do with It? She was on MTV. That's right.
Yeah, man.
So, I mean, somebody who spanned generations,
Yeah. Another massive legend, Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. Yep.
Greatest running backs of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Played for the Browns. Back in the day, obviously. I mean, he was so far back, he was considered a fullback.
Really?
Yeah. Different times, different game, but still a guy that I think could play today. Crazy speed, size, all that stuff, man. He was a legend. So this one here, none of you are going to know.
Oh, Jesus.
But I wrote this down because I didn't know her name, but I knew who she was.
Okay.
Eileen Saki. Do you know who Eileen Saki is?
I feel like I should, but I don't know. Who was Eileen Saki?
Eileen Saki was the owner of Rosie's Bar on the show MASH.
Jesus Christ.
MASH is obviously, well, not obviously, but is one of my favorite shows of all time.
I have the original pilot series here in the house somewhere.
Yeah. I don't have it, but yeah, man, I grew up watching that with my dad, and it just kind of, I just loved it, and I still watch the reruns today. But yeah, she wasn't the only person to ever play the owner of Rosie's Bar, which they didn't even say her name, but she was the owner of Rosie's Bar. But she did the most episodes as the owner of Rosie's Bar. And way earlier in the series, she had played like a madam at like a whorehouse, I guess, probably in where they always go to, Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah. So Eileen Saki. Then you had Jerry Springer.
Yeah, Jerry Springer. I didn't see that one coming.
The legendary talk show host, Jerry Springer.
And I think we all learned a lot about Jerry Springer and his death. A lot of stuff I didn't know. I mean, we always just thought he was a crazy, daytime talk show guy. But I mean, he was a newscaster. He was in politics.
He was the mayor of Cincinnati.
He was the mayor, mayor of Cincinnati. I mean, there was a lot of stuff about Jerry Springer that I had no idea about because we grew up with the Springer Show, which was a shit show. Crazy. Yeah. Yeah, that was a perfect like anthem for like our 90s, like teen era. Yeah, crazy. Here's another one. Tom Sizemore. Tom Sizemore, what an actor.
Couple of his best, obviously Black Hawk Down. And Saving Private Ryan he was in.
He was so good in Saving Private Ryan, but he was really good in Black Hawk Down too. I mean, he's two great movies, and he was awesome.
Yeah.
Not old. I feel like he was not old.
I don't think he was old. I felt like he was dealing with something too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another one, Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch.
Huge sex symbol of the 60s. Beautiful woman.
Them legs.
Yeah. Dudes back in the 60s were loving on some Raquel Welch. I think she was an actress too, right?
She was.
Pretty sure she did some
She
movies.
wasn't she in the Creature from the Blue Lagoon, Raquel Welch?
Creature from the Blue Lagoon?
Yeah, I'm going back there.
I don't even think that's a movie.
That is definitely a movie.
Blue Lagoon. There was a Blue Lagoon. That was what's her face? That was
no, you're thinking of some 80s shit, 90s shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it was pre-80s, then it was then maybe that's what it was called. I would not have seen Creature from the Blue Lagoon.
Oh, Creature from the Black Lagoon. Was it the Black Lagoon? Might have been the Black Lagoon.
You type Raquel Welch Creature from, and it should come up.
I don't know. Let me see.
You can't even spell Raquel Welch, can you?
I can.
Raquel.
Yep, I got it.
Welch. Oh, legs numb. Yeah. Nothing.
So on to the next one. Next one. Yeah, I'm getting it.
Next one, man. This was a bad year for Bert's.
What happened?
Well, we talked about Burt Young. Paulie from Rocky died earlier. Obviously, I got in a motorcycle accident this year.
True story.
And Burt Bacharach died.
Who was Burt Bacharach?
You don't know who Burt Bacharach is?
I probably
He's a legendary composer.
You
would know. I mean, how are you a music guy and you don't know who Burt Bacharach is?
Yeah, I don't know.
Big Vegas guy, composer, and he what was it? I forget the name of the song. I saw it when I looked it up. I forget the name of it, but I know people listening know who Burt Bacharach was. He was a composer, music guy, songwriter, stuff like that. So another one that maybe a lot of people don't know, like this is going back and kind of dating us or dating me anyway, but Lisa Loring.
Oh, who was she?
Lisa Loring played Wednesday Addams on the Addams Family.
Yes,
the original show.
I didn't know she
you're going back, but
yeah. Well, Wednesday's kind of back. You know what I mean? Wednesday, didn't they come up with a movie Wednesday, or was there a series? It was like a Netflix show about Wednesday.
Wednesday Addams?
I don't know, but it was called Wednesday, wasn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's something just came back out.
Did it have to do with the Addams Family?
I think it did in a roundabout way. But yes, Wednesday Addams, the OG goth girl.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah, no, family was. Then there was Cindy Williams. You know who Cindy Williams is?
Who was she?
Cindy Williams played Shirley on Laverne and Shirley.
Yes, I remember hearing that. Yep.
Then you had David Crosby.
Yeah, David Crosby is big influence in my music career. That guy was.
Who's that? You gonna tell everybody who that is?
Crosby, Stills and Nash. David Crosby.
Yep.
He fathered Melissa Etheridge's child. He was probably one of.
Really?
Yeah, he did. Probably one of the greatest.
I thought she was a lesbian.
That's why I just used the word fathered.
Interesting.
There was, I think he did anyway. Right? I don't know. It could be completely.
That's the rumor anyway.
I could be lost in the universe there. But I think he was definitely one of the greatest harmonizers, singer songwriters of a generation.
Yeah.
I mean, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young wrote some of the greatest songs ever recorded, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robbie Knievel.
Robbie Knievel,
Son of Evil
Knievel.
Stunt rider and entertainer.
Mm-hmm. Did he bite the dust, or did he die of old age?
I don't think he bit the dust.
No.
I don't think it was an accident,
No.
like a bike accident. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. And then the last one that was significant that I wrote down was Lisa Marie Presley.
Yes.
Daughter of Elvis Presley,
Daughter
also
of Elvis.
songwriter, singer. I mean, I don't know a lot about her. I just know she's the daughter of Elvis.
Yeah, yeah. And I think now she is. I think they buried her over at Graceland. I'm pretty sure.
I would imagine
That's where the whole family has a plot over there.
Yeah,
It's
I would
really.
imagine.
If you've never been to Graceland, go to damn Graceland.
Yeah, I want to go back to Graceland, man. We were there once on a long road trip as we headed to Texas, but we had the kids and they were little, and it was hard to really enjoy it because they were being little kids. You know, and, hard to take it all in while you're trying to make sure your kids aren't tearing the place apart.
Yeah, Graceland was a life changer, a life changing experience for me.
Yeah.
Well, always loved Elvis stuff. I always loved Elvis stuff, but I could never say that I was an Elvis fan. You know what I mean? Because some people are Elvis nuts, man, right? And I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not Elvis nuts. But it gave me such an appreciation for Elvis, not as a singer or a songwriter, but as a person, because we know Elvis for rock and roll, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people know Elvis for rock and roll. Elvis's biggest contributions to the music community was not rock and roll.
What was it?
Gospel. He was a gospel singer. He's got more gold records and more Grammys for gospel.
Yeah, I mean that might be true, but I don't think that's what the majority of people know him for.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. You're right. It is not. It's what we know him for. I don't know what.
So I think
there was
that's
a whole
the
generation
hardcore
of
music people that would consider him more influential in that realm, right, than the average everyday.
But I don't listen to a lot of gospel. We were not raised on gospel. You lived in the Northeast. I feel like gospel was not a thing. I feel like that was a southern,
pretty southern thing. Yeah.
That was a southern thing. So I feel like for those people that grew up down there and their parents grew up on gospel, and that was a thing. That's what you might have known him for. But being from where we were from, and my mom loved Elvis. She loved Elvis. She loved the Beatles. I never thought of him like that. And to stand in a hallway full of gold records, and have
place
them
was pretty amazing.
Have them be gospel records.
I mean, let's not get it twisted. He had some horrible taste.
It was
no stop. There's some of those rooms in that house that are just insane. There's carpet on the wall and stuff. It's
come on, the Jungle Room. Come on,
just horrible taste. But I mean, you can't argue.
You wouldn't be happy if I carpeted the walls up in here.
Might help with the echo.
Some shag green.
Could help. Listen, it's your room. Do what you want with it. I'm only here for a minute. But no, so that was the most notable. But I mean, I guess the list ended up being kind of longer than I thought. But I mean, the list of what they considered celebrities that passed in 2023 was 5 times that at least. But a lot of them, I didn't know who they were. But it's sad. Every year you see a long list of people that you either were part of your childhood, watching TV, listening to music, whatever. That's typically one or the other when it comes to celebs. But always kind of sad. You sit back and think about your memory of them, or what effect they had, on your life. Like that the one chick, she didn't have an effect on my life, but the overall show that she was in certainly did, and still does, because I still watch and still love it. And it reminds me of times watching TV with my dad. So pretty cool to just kind of reflect on that. Sad that those people obviously passed.
MASH was great.
There was some people. There was a lot of people on there that died. Obviously, this was a big thing in 23. A lot of young deaths.
Yeah.
I just didn't know who any of them were. Like there was some K-pop dude, there was some other like actors that are like from things I've never even heard of.
Yeah.
Which, you know, a younger crowd probably more significant to them. Obviously 2023, kind of 2022, 2023, a lot of extremely young deaths. We've seen a lot of them in the sports world.
Yep.
Whole different topic to discuss, you know, thoughts on that. But yeah, I mean, typically, I mean, I thought of this list was a lot of significantly older people, which is at least good. Like, you know, I mean, we're all going to die sometime, right? Better to be 89, 90 than
Still sad about
55.
Still sad about Ducky.
Yeah, Ducky. I mean, he wasn't that old.
No, he wasn't.
Like, he wasn't like late 80s, 90s old. I think I forget what it was. I didn't even pay attention to that. I should have, but a lot of the soap opera stars were definitely old, and those are from going. You know, you can go way back into when did soap opera start? Like 70s.
Yeah, I feel like that. It was like 70s, like 80s. They were like in their prime with the As the World Turns in the days. Of
I mean, they were still booming when we were like in the 90s. I know
feel
that
like
because
some of them are still on.
Yeah, there's some still on for sure. And some of those people are like huge stars in that world, but they're just that's like all they do. So like you don't really see them on like movies and stuff and really know who they are unless you watch those shows.
Like Joey Tribbiani, big soap opera star.
Was he?
No, but that's what he played on Friends.
Stupid ass. What a tool. What a tool. Oh, good grief. I feel like what's his name was on some soap operas. Good Morning Football. What's his name, right? How am I drawing a blank on his name? The dude from Good Morning Football on the NFL Network, and he was initially on Real World.
Oh shit!
You guys know Real World, and he was on. I believe he was on the Chicago because he's from Chicago. I think he was on the Chicago season, and that was 01 because they watched 9/11.
Yeah.
On their TVs on that show, but I think he went on to be in some soap operas before he ended up on sports TV.
I feel like we should do an episode on our favorite childhood TV shows.
Child,
or like like growing up. There's some good
I'd
ones.
have to sit
man.
down and reflect on that. I watch a lot of TV.
I mean, I can knock a bunch of them out like off the bat. I mean,
man,
Blue Thunder, Airwolf.
I was not a big Airwolf. I mean, I watched it, but I wasn't a huge fan of Airwolf.
Got some A-Team.
What's his name? He had he was one of those 3 name guys.
Michael. He was one of those 3 name
Jan,
guys.
Michael, Scott, Jan, Vincent, Michael. It was Jan was in there. It was a Jan. I know it was Jan.
Yep.
Jan, Mike, something like that.
Some A-Team.
Oh, huge A-Team guy for sure.
Wonder Years.
Huge.
I love the Wonder Years. China Beach.
I didn't watch China Beach.
How could you not watch China Beach with Dana Delaney?
I don't know. Didn't.
Holy cow, man!
I got into it.
Holy cow!
I wonder if I can go back and find some stuff.
And find some Dana Delaney in China Beach. If you know, you know.
What's her face was the chick from Jag.
Yes, Jag.
She was a hottie back in the day.
She was like Dana Delaney, the second. Catherine. What's her name?
Okay, it was Catherine. I can't remember what her last name was. She was on something more recent, and that's why I was a little bit older.
I think we have a.
So I kind of feel like next week maybe we need to talk. Next week will be like a New Year's Eve, a New Year's kind of special. We might need to talk about hopes and plans for 2024 maybe. I don't know. Goals for 2024. What are you going to do? Something like that?
Catherine Bell. I'm just
Catherine Bell.
Catherine Bell.
Yeah.
I think and I think we're going to probably wrap up season 1 of the podcast next week. I think we're going to divide the year into like a half and a half, and that's how we're going to run our seasons. I mean, I just kind of came up with that arbitrarily.
Sure did.
But it
sounds fine.
It seems like a good thing to do.
Sure.
Just to kind of give people like a benchmark of like when to catch up and what to do and like how to break it up. And I feel like yeah, I feel like that's kind of what we're gonna do, and I think we've got a big 24. We got a big 24 for the Baggers and Brews channel for sure. I hope we have a big 24 for This American Ride.
Yeah, man. We're still very, very open to comments, suggestions, anything. Again, This American Ride 1776 at Gmail. Shoot us a message. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think we could do better. Let us know what you think or what you like. Suggestions for topics, open to all that. If you've already emailed and made a suggestion and you haven't heard us talk about your topic, that doesn't mean we won't.
Yeah.
It's just it's been pretty crazy. This last couple months of this year, a lot going on. Dealing with our just personal stuff, just life in general. And still getting in here to do this stuff and have these conversations. But we definitely, if you've sent us an email, we've got it. We haven't discarded it, so we could still talk about whatever your suggestion was. But yeah, we're open to discuss whatever, like anything that's connected to something that might be important to you, could very well be pertinent to this podcast.
Yeah, hit us up. I mean, and this is a chill time for us. This is a good time. We like hanging out, talking, discussing some stuff that,
it's fun.
Honestly, is stuff that we kind of talk about when we sit around a table on a Saturday night and drink some beers, like we just did last Sunday night.
Yeah, definitely.
So a lot of stuff comes up. Yeah. So definitely want to push the envelope. Have some more guests on. We're going to.
I think
explore having remote guests, and I think we need to explore having some remote guests. We need to really pull the trigger and nail some folks down, and I think we've got some good ones and some good topics that people will be interested in. Undoubtedly, I'm sure we will have BR Ford back on at some point next season.
Sure.
Bri is a great guest to have on here, and
I feel like this. What do you say? We started in August.
Yeah,
so it's about half the year. Just getting our feet wet in this whole thing, getting the tech right, getting.
I feel like I'm hitting the stride.
Down.
I feel like I'm hitting the stride with the tech.
Who knows? These camera angles and the setup could, it's still fluid, but I think we're getting our feet wet, and now I think we're kind of ready to start getting some interesting guests on to have conversation with and introduce some different people that might be interesting and have some interesting stories, life stories to talk about. I know several off the top of my head that I've already talked to that I think have some pretty cool, interesting stories in their life. So I think it'd be fun to talk to.
Yeah.
But yeah, super excited. I mean, again, that was kind of a wrap on 2023. 2023 for me was a pretty strange year. Started off really good. I was on my weight loss journey, which I think I'll be on my whole life. But it was going great, and then I got into a motorcycle accident that really set me back because I was laid up and couldn't really work out and was kind of pity eating. So I kind of like killed that. But I mean, going into 2024, I am lighter right now than I was at this time last year. So I'll take that as a win. And I always do. I mean, you can go all the way back and ask my old buddies from Combs that the winter I can do a diet in the winter like nobody's business. Like I'm capable of buckling down in the winter and dropping pounds, and then we get to the summer and barbecue,
social
time, and riding and drinking, and not together, but riding and drinking and all that stuff, and it kind of puts a kibosh on the diet, but that's all right. I figure if you really go hard for the winter, from like January to April, like you can.
It's the winter, January to April,
basically.
Yeah, all right.
I mean, kind of is, right? April and spring.
I don't know. March, April.
Yeah, I mean, maybe technically, but I mean, March can still be pretty friggin' crappy here.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, you go hard, January to April, like you can lose enough to sustain over the rest of the year and still come out ahead and, over time and maybe, You
like reverse hibernate. You do exactly the opposite that a bear does. It's
I have to. I mean, there's not a lot going on, and my passion of riding is, kind of the kiboshes on that, except for maybe here and there a couple little times. But so it's like not a lot going on, you're kind of, it's the winter, you're kind of hunkered down. You're not doing a ton of social stuff. So what better time to like watch what you eat, work out, So that's what I'm looking forward to here in a couple weeks after we hit the new year, getting back into that, get back on that regiment, and, shed some pounds so that I can be a little more svelte for the riding season.
Svelte.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
Svelte. All right.
It's a crazy year, but it was a good year. I mean, all in all, we're still kicking.
Still doing our thing. Still having fun with it. So, and we're going to have lots of fun in 24, and we will talk a little bit about that next week in this next episode. And thank you for listening to this episode of This American Ride. I'm George. That's Bert.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas. And we'll catch you in the next one.